Recording.
Recording in progress. Am I muted? I'm not muted, right? No.
Yep,
Okay.
Good to go.
Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I'm your captain, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is my skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Welcome, Mozz. Welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. The Capes and Lunatics show for streaming content on the interwebs. Tonight we are discussing Season 1, Episode 6 of Invincible. You look kind of dead. Mark joins William and Amber on a campus visit to Upstate University, hoping to discover a new future for himself. Debbie makes her own disturbing discovery. Discovery. All right. What was Debbie's disturbing discovery?
She finds the bloody costume in this episode, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Debbie's the mom. Our director is Paul Furminger, with Jeff Allen as our supervising director. Curtis Gwynn gives us our screenplay this episode. Yes, Robert Kirkman, of course, gets the created by. Ryan Otley gets a co-creator credit along with a writer credit, along with Corey Walker, who gives us our co-creator credit. Just checking to see, what else Kirkman has done. Yeah, no, I don't think he worked on The Boys, so that's somebody else.
Maybe it's the same comics company that does both of them.
Yeah, I think they are both Dark Horse Comics, so that is that. But yeah, they're known for not being a unified universe because they have a bunch of different things, but they will do crossovers. And likewise, Dynamite will do a lot of crossovers for companies that don't have their own crossover division. So like when you do the Evil Deads versus some other group, that usually happens over at Dynamite. So
like RoboCop versus Terminator kind of thing.
Yeah, that's usually over at Dynamite because they do licensed characters. So
how cool.
Anyway, long story short, tonight's episode, let's go to college. This is a rough episode, man.
Yeah.
This is a rough episode on so many levels. Although, man, okay, so I want to break up the two stories here because I don't want to get to the college stuff first because that's the dark, sad stuff. But we get this interesting thing with Debbie takes the costume to the tailor, who does his analysis of it. And we really get this breakdown of, the tailor is basically saying, it's all their blood on his costume. There's nothing I can't account for on his costume. He is the first one to attack. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And that is hard for all of them. And, you get this, there's this confrontation scene with Debbie and Nolan, and this is where you can see Nolan getting mad about the emotions he's feeling. Because Debbie she is a dog and he could put her down. She's like a pet. But dang if he doesn't love her. And, you think about, like, how much you love your pet. Yeah, people really do love their pets. You see these people talk about their fur babies. And, you can, if you have a kid, you say, well, it's a lot different when you have a kid. But, I don't know if it necessarily is. And I don't know if the person who commits to the life of this being can just walk away from it, and that he has disappointed her. It's not it's not that I'm angry, it's that I'm disappointed in you, Nolan. That, I think, is in many ways more powerful than anything else. But then at the same time, we get this secondary aspect, the secondary arc of Nolan going to the tailor with a 6-pack of beers. And you get this idea here that, the tailor is thinking he's going to kill me because I know too much. But at the end of the day, the tailor isn't a threat.
Well, not just that.
That would be like pulling the wings off a fly to him. It's like,
right, a fly that ruined a soup you were working on all night for, right? It's a different thing. And I think he comes there and he knows that, like, he knows what the tailor did, right? And he knows that the tailor knows that he was out of line. And he knows that the tailor thinks he's going to kill him. So he sits there and just has a beer with him. And just that tension and that stress and that fear is the punishment for him.
Yeah.
He's going to continue being needling, and that's what he's there to deliver.
I know. And it is so powerful. But I also do think that's the thing. Nolan, and it's sort of this, that insatiable Vulcan logic, he's not a bad person. He just has no respect for human life. It's like,
right.
But it's not like he wants to go.
But he isn't human. So can we expect him to ascribe to that, reference point of morality?
Well, and he makes this point. Well, I mean, that's the idea that, Viltrumites live.
Can we expect him to have humanity when he's not a human?
Yeah. Well, there's one of my favorite lines from Animal Farm is, as you have this one character, because my two favorite characters are the donkey and Boxer. And Boxer is always, I will work harder. He's your classic Soviet super soldier. We love him. And Donkey just constantly says, donkeys live a very long time. As to what, how he feels about, the farmer being displaced and the pigs taking over and the changes that the pigs have made to things. And it's like, donkeys live a very long time. The donkey expects to outlive all of this. And I think that is something that the Viltrumites maybe have in this, which is that they do live a very long time. And as much as they may have love and compassion for the worlds they come across, they are going to outlive them. And the reality is, for someone like Debbie, she will live and she will grow old and she will die. And, he knows that, but that does not mean he does not care for her. And he would never just hurt people to hurt them.
Right, but the kind of love that we as the audience seem to be expecting Nolan to deliver or to be capable of is not possible from someone whose frame of reference is so completely different. He can't consider giving all of himself to someone when there is no concept of all of himself. There's no end to him. You know what I'm saying? So his heuristics, is how his subconscious makes decisions, are not the same as ours, and you can't expect him to feel anything more than what he does. And from that perspective, even the fact that he does, I feel like most Viltrumites probably wouldn't. The fact that he treats her as he does, being a Viltrumite, it deserves to be commended.
Well, and that I think that's gonna be a season 2 plot line, is what the Viltrumites will think of him going native. I mean, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but we're getting there. We're almost to episode. This is episode 5. We're almost to the penultimate, or this is episode 6.
6. Yeah.
We're almost to that penultimate episode. Take a drink.
Mm.
And, we're going to get all of those details that, we have so far been denied. But I think even now we can see with the way that Nolan approaches humanity that he does see a difference between him and humans. And it isn't to be mean to humans.
Right.
It is just to understand what they do. There was a great thing I remember on Big Bang Theory, where like Howard confronts Sheldon, and he says, "It really bothers me that you don't respect what I do, and you don't, and Sheldon says, whoever made you think I don't respect what you do? You are the top of your field. You are an amazing engineer, and I respect the skills you have. I just think what you do is meaningless, but I respect you nonetheless." And that's sort of how I think Nolan is. It's like, I respect you. What you do is meaningless in the grand cosmic scheme, but I respect it
in his grand scheme, because his grand scheme is different than your grand scheme. It means completely different things.
Exactly.
So, like, from the metaphor of the forest for the trees, he's seeing the planet. You're just thinking about the forest. See what I'm saying? So, like, he has to consider much more into what his responsibilities to himself are, what his responsibilities to the people he encountered or will encounter on this broad, path of life. There's a lot of considerations that he has to make, and the same way that as much as we must love our pets, and as much as we may love our pets, it's like we know they won't be a part of our lives for that long. So for the time that we devote to them, it is what it is. But we can't think about things from the same perspective with them that we do with people. And to expect us to is, I think, wishful thinking at the very least.
Yeah, although if you've ever watched your dog die,
of course,
stay with you for the rest of your life,
Of course.
But anyway, that's that possibility. That's that plot line. Oh gosh! But now let's get to what is the meat of the episode, which is going to college. William has a hot young med student that he is all dreamy about. Rick, yes.
And the funny thing is, the expectation they build up is that they're going to get there, and as excited as he is about it, you're like, oh, there's no way this is going to work out. There's no way his feelings are going to be reciprocated. And so the whole time you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, but it's like, no, they really have, they do like each other, and you're so happy for him, and that's the way they set this up. They're so good at like
tearing your heart out,
left
yes.
or right. Yeah.
They set you up, they give you that momentary feeling of safeness, and then
right.
Although in this one, man, and again with this one you have it makes for this very interesting thing, because when the farmer bro becomes our first victim, there is an aspect of that there's a part of you that just sort of shows comeuppance for the evil guy. But then when it's someone we care about, which again is meant to put it back on us as the audience, say, well, why was that life you were going to not be upset about, and this life you are? This life where you know who cares about them and you know who loves them, and it is really sad. And I know that because Rick goes missing, and as a result, but Nolan isn't going to go chase after Rick because he doesn't see it as a threat. But it's only when William becomes threatened that Nolan does show up.
Mark.
Oh yeah, Mark, not Nolan. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, what can I say? All Viltrumites look like
That's
me.
it's such an interesting thing. Like the first attack happens where Farmer Bro becomes the robot villain and comes and attacks. And what a great scene that is, the way that ends, right? He's beating the hell out of Mark, and William sees that Mark is invincible, and he finally puts two and two together. But like the greatest thing is when he sees his reflection in the water, and he's like, "Oh my God, what am I?" Pulls a piece of his face off. He just can't reconcile what's happening, and he just impales himself and he kills him. It's like, man, what a dark, dark, dark scene.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, again, this idea of something kind of standing up to a Viltrumite here. Granted, a juvenile Viltrumite, but you realize, and
A
this
juvenile half Viltrumite.
true, but it kind of gives this idea that there are these humans are tenacious, and we are cockroaches, and we will. You may crush us, but we're going to keep on going. And eventually, we're going to find the way to upend it. Because here you have this guy, again, not trying to defeat a Viltrumite at all, and yet is creating creatures that can at least momentarily slow them down. Maybe not defeat them, but slow them down. And sometimes just slowing someone down is all you need to do. So that's an impressive aspect of this story. Beyond that, we have just this, just this tragedy, because, after he escapes and he says, and then the guy says, well, I'm definitely not going to let them have higher brain functions after this. Which is, and this guy also, man, just the worst Dr. Doomy kind of guy you could ever imagine.
Which made me sort of. So, what do you think of like the ending and how William is able to somehow reach functions of Rick's brain that were supposedly removed?
Well, no. So what he reached, and this is sort of. And, it's sad and it's beautiful that, the things that people with severe anterograde.
Are they saying that his feelings for William were so strong and implanted that it implanted in a different portion of his brain already?
Yeah, it's
and
actually
that when they removed the higher function, it was already existing down there. And that's how much he, oh man, that's oof.
And there's scientific evidence. That's actually the two things that cannot be removed from the mind are music and your one true love. And it is frightening how things like that occur, where your entire ability to keep memories or build memories are gone, but you remember who you belong to. And you remember music. And music is something that exists in a part of your brain that is not part of memory. It's part of something deeper. It's in the core. It's in your core memory that you can't remove. It's kind of freaky when you look into the science on this about what remains when all else is taken away from us. And that is it. So the idea, so that whole legend, how every story has, I know you're in there somewhere, that connection to this connection we have that's deeper than whatever programming they're laying on top of you. That's actually based on science, although obviously the trope predates the science. But since then, we've looked and said, oh, wow, you know what? You really are in there somewhere. And that is a pretty fascinating aspect of this.
The other thing that I find interesting is when William finds out that his best friend is a superhero, how that changes their relationship a little bit, right? Because I wonder if there wasn't that sense of entitlement, not unearned, like he should expect Mark to come help him. This is a dire situation. Mark doesn't believe him, but I wonder if there wasn't that dynamic between them. Oh, like now he's gonna expect me to come, every time he needs something, kind of thing. Whether he would have been more, well, actually, no, he was looking for, he was What was he looking for?
He was looking for Amber.
He was looking for Amber. Okay, right. So he was looking for Amber, and he encountered who's the other guy that she meets at the party?
Oh, I forget.
But she meets a guy at the party that she's sort of getting along with, and he sees that, and so he's sort of like in his head. And I wonder if there wasn't that dynamic of his friend saying, "Oh, I need you," if he would have just heard, "Oh, Rick is in trouble. That's the guy William cares about," so he would have immediately went. But maybe not.
Although remember, he's just getting off of the betrayal last episode from Titan.
Oh, right. So at this point, now she knows as well that he's invincible, or not yet?
No, I don't think she knows yet. I think that happens next episode. Or maybe she does know and she just doesn't care. I forget how it plays out next episode, but
Oh, so that doesn't happen
in this one,
episode.
because remember, like at the end of the story, the arc with Titan, we see that all that, and then Titan just takes over, and we saw that apparently it was. Sorry, we should have talked about this last episode. That it was Titan's plan with Ion to take over, because we also realized that for everything about Machine Head and anything else, Ion was the real power, because Ion had the teleport, which was get you out of there right away. Which is the real superpower when you think about it. It's okay.
Or is the real like gunpowder? Yeah, sure, but the gun having the mechanisms to make the gunpowder effective. So I feel like Machine Head was the gun, and he was just the bullet or the gunpowder.
Yeah. Well, what I think is that what Ion gives you, I believe his name was Ion, was it gives you the opportunity to leave when things go south.
Sure.
Because that's the thing. The thing about crime is it's fine until you get caught. But if you have an out, if you never get caught, there's nothing to stop you, and nobody can defeat you, because the very worst thing that would have happened if Ion had been there is his office would have been trashed.
Right.
And 6 weeks later he would have come back, or he'd move his office, or he'd do whatever he had to do. It would have been a setback, but it wouldn't be. He wouldn't have had his chips pulled out by Cecil. And that's really what changes things. Is the chips get pulled out. Right. I think is this the episode where Monster Girl and all them wake up too, or?
I know Robot goes and gets her that blue flower to try to save her. I don't know if she wakes up in this one just yet.
Yeah, that might have been last episode too. I don't know. I'm getting them all confused. This one I actually had to watch on like fast speed just to get myself refreshed on it. I did watch it all regular once, but I got to catch up on these things too before you review them. But anyway, yeah, I mean it ends kind of sad, because it's again this idea of don't worry, these people are the best people to fix Rick, and and Cecil's like, we'll do what we can do, but at the same time, Mark already tried this trick with the old lady, and brought them to the super scientists to fix it, and it's like,
no, if I'm Cecil, I'm using this as an opportunity. I'm saying, and we see that he enlists the doctor, the scientist, into his core of assets. So I can see him thinking Rick is already a test subject ready to go. So why just use him?
Well, no, I think actually
going to him and saying, hey, you get to be a superhero now. It's unfortunate what happened to you, but let's use your powers to help not let this happen to other people. You have a new identity. It's up to you to embrace it. Let's go, Yeah,
but you also want to get him his higher brain functions back.
Do you, though? That's what I'm saying. Do you, though?
Well, I think that
if you're Cecil, maybe not.
I think there's an aspect of it that you want them to have that certain level of you want to know how to fix it. You want to know how to fix the situation before you do it. Especially if you ever want to utilize this stuff on other people. It's like, tech is always great, but you also, if you have a reason to try and reverse this for this guy, maybe there's some advantage in it. I can
That's
see.
what I'm saying. Is there more advantage to give somebody their boyfriend back, or is there more advantage for national security or whatever to say, hey?
Well, the one is they already have what they have for national security. They can rebuild.
They're always adding more. They don't really have something that can defeat the Viltrumites yet. This is just another lead that they can follow up and say, hey, this guy beat up Invincible. Let's see what this is all about. Maybe we can, maybe 30 of them could beat up Nolan. Maybe 100 of them could beat up Nolan.
But the idea is that, and well, that's an idea. The idea is that, yeah, the basic structure of the superbot, the RoboCops, if you will, can certainly be useful. They already have that technology. So Rick, as himself, doesn't really advantage that technology. What advantages the technology is seeing, well, can we reverse Rick? Can we take this stuff off? Can we put him back the way he was? Because if you take it apart and put it back together again, that's going to show you how stuff gets made on another level.
I think that's a way of looking at it that has a niceness built into it.
Well,
I think Cecil would just be like, okay.
To put it to you real simple, you want to keep Mark on your good side. You want to be doing what you need to do to keep this guy happy. This is the one Viltrumite they have that, quite frankly, has an attachment to Earth and wants to do good. And the best thing you can do in that situation is keep him feeling that you're going to try and do good. And the fact of the matter is that because the people that's the thing. It's just because they're, we'll do what we need to do to do what we need to do in our little cabal, doesn't mean they're bad people. And if they can use their technology to fix a problem, why wouldn't you? The idea of just ignoring it, I'm not going to say they're going to put, all of their best men on it, but maybe they're going to look at it and see, well, what could we do? And is there some knowledge we can gain from this that we might be able to use in another situation later? Because there will be other situations.
Right, and that knowledge, in my perspective, is how can we weaponize this further? I like what this guy was working on. Let's see how we can improve on this. Hey, like Werner von Braun, come here, buddy.
No, and that guy certainly. And they certainly, the question isn't how do we do more, because that guy has already built Rick. That guy isn't going to do us any more with Rick. What is better is you use that guy who has already done this, maybe give him more test subjects to work on.
I think it's easy enough to tell Mark, hey, I'm sorry, we couldn't save him. And now they're still doing tests on him.
That's a possibility too. Yeah, well, And again,
I think Cecil's the kind of guy that's what he would do. And again, if he wants to make his the one guy who might be an ally. But all he has to do is he already knows and it's better for William. It's better for everybody if he moves on.
I don't know. Yes, that is an argument to be made, but not if it gets revealed. Here's the thing: the most important thing about pulling a con is keeping your lies to a minimum.
Well,
no, I'm telling you,
he's standing there talking to Nolan, saying, "Yeah, that Damien Darkblood, huh? He's playing games every which way."
Well,
that's what he
Nolan,
does.
But he knows Nolan's bad. He knows Nolan was,
and he knows he's bad too. He has to be bad in order to watch the bad guys.
I don't know. I would like to think that Cecil actually has a deeper commitment to humanity than that.
Right, but again, the deeper commitment, is it saving, the two-bit criminals, or the noisy neighbors, or is his perspective much larger?
Well, but the thing is that, and again, this is what I'm trying to say.
Hmm.
When you have a situation where you can gain additional knowledge by reverse engineering something, by
No,
breaking
but you can
something
gain
down.
more knowledge by doing more testing.
No, you can't.
That's what
Not
I'm.
on this. Not on this obsolete model. That's see. That's what I think you're missing, Mozz.
No,
Is you're
but upgrade him, right? Don't
well, sure,
deconstruct
and
him.
you know what?
Upgrade,
Upgrading
right?
him to get his memories back.
No,
That
no,
would be
no.
great.
Upgrading him to not have any memory, so he can be more easily controlled.
But see, you don't want that because then anyone who can hack his system can control him.
Right, but that's such is the case for all of our nuclear arsenal as well.
Well, exactly, which is kind of its problem.
I understand that, but that's the way humans think, and that's the way somebody in his position, I think, would think.
Well, but this guy is. I'd like to think this guy is thinking longer term than that. That's the idea. It's like if all you're thinking about is, oh, gee, how do I turn this rock into a weapon?
That's his job.
No, I would say his job is to figure out, okay, this rock will already hit somebody. What can I do to advantage America and Earth's position with the knowledge that this rock can hit people? And one of the moves might be to just put the rock down and say, oh no, we're not going to hit you with a rock. Why would we do that to you, Nolan? We're your friends. That's the thing. That is what you see.
Yeah, but at the same time, you always got to be preparing that rock because you know that all the pleasantries and niceness are great, but if he decides to engage, we have to be prepared.
But you also have to ask the question, if you don't have...
That's why you looked.
Which is why you need to keep Mark on your good side.
I understand that, but you can easily do that by saying the guy just died.
Now, but did he though?
It's just as easy and more effective.
And again, but you don't want efficiency. You want something that's going to be solid. And what I'm going to tell you is
many irons in the fire, man.
Yeah, a lot of irons.
We don't know if this is going to pan out yet. It's what's
and that's our tax dollars at work, Mozz. And the fact of the matter is that if you can establish a bond and an owed debt to this being,
he has many avenues to establish that. He doesn't need this to do it. He's already done it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can see your very supervillainous look at it. I like to think of it in terms of a much longer game. The problem with supervillainy is it's all short-term gain. And I don't think a guy like Cecil is playing a short-term game.
I think that's a clever way of dressing up. We should all be nice and not think that we're capable
the fact of the matter is,
things.
the only reason why humans exist is because we're nice. If humans weren't nice to each other, we would have been eaten long ago by the bears.
Yeah, but you can say that about so many other dynamics. If we weren't competitive, we would have died out a long time ago as well.
Well, actually, no. That's a complete Randian falsehood, and it is ridiculous to anyone that's actually looked at how humans have survived this long. We've only survived this long because of cooperation.
Balanced by competition, and to think that there's this idealistic view that we would only exist on one side of the scale is short-sighted.
Let me put it this way: there is no society that has amounted to anything that has not found a way to make nice with their neighbors.
Mm-hmm. But that's not an exclusive statement. You can't say that no society ever existed without conflict and establishing of dominance as well.
No, actually, every society exists.
They go in cycles, and they support each other. And there's a midpoint where everything's good, and then it cycles back again. And that's just how we live.
So here's what you have. I mean, just to get really, really esoteric on this, you can have two tribal leaders come against each other, but at the end of the day, the investment of the tribe and its leaders is only reliant on the leader's ability to keep the tribe safe. So no matter how you slice it, it always comes back to an idea of how do we negotiate cooperation?
Right. You
How
got to
do we
keep them safe,
deal
but you
with
got
the
to feed them too. And that
Yeah,
requires establishing dominance over resources. And that requires competition. And the only way you can keep your people safe is if you're,
again, no, it's not dominance over resources. It is cooperation of resources, because there's no reason for me, who lives at the water, to let you have water if all we do is compete. What we do is we work out a cooperation that says, I will give you the water and you will give me the grain. You will give me the grain and I will give you the meat.
and that's how it starts.
Together.
That's how it starts. But the inevitable cyclical nature of it is that eventually, you will need to compete because there's a scarcity of resources, because we can't stop overpopulating. So,
Actually,
all these things will come to an end. My point is, idealism only exists for a moment until it unbalances on the other side, and then it rebalances. And there is no stasis in the middle point. So, and I think if we understand that nature of our
I'm sorry. You don't build an Empire State Building on stepping on people's necks. You build an Empire State Building. No, you don't. That's the thing. You don't. Because you need workers to do it. Which means
and you're not stepping on their necks, right?
You got to pay workers a wage.
Right. Okay.
You don't, and the more you break it down, it's the fact that we had treaties with the Indians tells you how important cooperation was.
Right, and look how that worked out. Look how many of them there are.
Yeah, well, it didn't work out for them. They made a bad deal.
Huh?
But the fact
that's what I'm saying. The point of there being a deal, there's gonna be a winner and a loser.
Well, there will be
that's the dynamic of a deal.
Negotiation of the deal, but at the same time, without cooperation. Let me put it this way.
No. I'm not saying that cooperation
don't get to the point where you get to make
of course not. Of course not. But the thing is, on the other side of it, cooperation never lasts for long. Our nature is that it will demand that other end of our nature be expressed. And if we don't secede to the idea that we need to balance that.
No. See, that is a short-sighted view of history that is terribly afraid of all the cooperation deciding that you no longer get to be in charge.
No, is it really short-sighted, or is it short-sighted to think that?
No, it's completely short-sighted to think.
No. But look at history. If we're really looking at history, it always flows in that cycle. It never lasts. Idealism never lasts.
No, idealism always lasts. Idealism is the one thing that has lasted, because the one thing that is
the societies that subscribe to it never last, right?
No. Okay.
Every empire that think they had the answer rose and fell, right? And it got good when we had good ideas.
But you know what succeeded was the cooperation of the humans underneath the empire. So whether
just at the beginning, I mean, that dynamic obviously will always be there.
Forever. Caesars get stabbed.
That's what I'm saying. It always leads to that. It always leads to
exactly, because Caesar is useless and a bureaucratic problem.
Right. No, but that's my point. You can't externalize that. That problem is us. We are the problem. We are Caesar.
No, we're not. One guy is Caesar. One guy is Caesar.
That's a poor attempt to find faulty logic to
because that is
a definition of who we are as people.
That is the cycle. The cycle is cooperation until one guy decides he's going to be in charge.
And how long before we admit that that's a piece of us? And that we need to deal with those demons to address them, so that we can deal with those.
Kill the Caesar so that we can all work together and have a survivable
That to me is
society.
short-sighted. Keep clinging to the thing that we can be ideal and not admitting that there's a piece of us that is dark. And if we don't deal with the darkness, we will always find these pustules of darkness that have been forced down and been forced to metastasize and express themselves in dangerous ways.
And what happens is when people are short-sighted, they want to be Caesar. And that's my point with Cecil. Cecil doesn't want to be Caesar. He doesn't want to run the country. He doesn't want to rule the world. Honestly, I think like I said earlier, there's an argument the Viltrumites don't really want to run the world. That would be useless. That's a lot of work. They just want to show up and say, we run this planet now. And they're like, okay, Viltrumites, welcome.
It's sort of like battle beasts. They're so powerful, they need somewhere to express their power. So they just want to conquer for the sake of conquering.
Which means that if you put up no resistance, they would be at a loss of what to do. It's like,
No.
okay.
They will be angry because you didn't give them resistance, and they will enlist you into your core, and they will use you as cannon fodder.
No, why would they use? I mean, they may use some of us as cannon fodder, but the Viltrumite nature is that we're perfect. Why would we use lesser beings as cannon fodder? And why do we even need cannon fodder?
Right.
That's the secondary aspect of it. Why would they need one of the weakest animals in the universe to be their cannon fodder?
To slow someone down.
Yeah, you see, Mozz, the problem is that you're trying to force this idea of competition over cooperation, and I get why you want to do that. I do get that that's a philosophy that you've embraced. I look at humanity, and all I see is people cooperating to get by. I live in a city with 1 million people. You live in a city with 8 million people. Obviously, there's a lot of cooperation to get resources where they're going to be. And the fact of the matter is, no matter how big you get in that city, you're still just one other part of another larger.
And at no point am I arguing against your point. I'm just saying that after that comes something else, and that's not the end of it.
Yeah, well, obviously there is no end to it. There is a constant evolution of humanity.
That's my
point.
But
it has always been evolving towards more cooperation, not less.
Right. But it also always falls because we fall prey to our own faults as human beings.
Except it doesn't.
And those are inevitable.
It falls from less cooperation to more cooperation.
Right. And we will always do that. That piece of us is inevitable.
Well, until we get to full cooperation, arguably.
Right.
And then we become the Federation, and then we start conquering other planets.
Right. So my point is, if anyone expects there to be stasis and not ever to deal with the darkness, is not thinking far enough ahead. They're thinking once we reach here, there will be a time where we will reach here and nobody will war.
No. Well, no. The idea is that there will be a time where, and this is what my central point with Cecil is. It is not in Cecil's long-term interests to antagonize Mark. It's not in his long-term. I don't think he would be
antagonizing Mark. I think that's something you're attaching to it unnecessarily. I don't think there would be any dynamic that way at all. He can play it completely safe and be like, oh, everybody expected that guy to die, much like the old lady did.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, and you can make that argument, except that he's not going to die. The question isn't, does he not die? It's, can you help him be who he once was?
Or help him forget the stuff that's inconvenient for him to be a weapon.
Except that there's no value to him as a weapon. There's not, because they can make a dozen other of them. They can get a guy to volunteer to go get RoboCop parts put on him. That's what we have an army for, Mozz. Guys that would like, hey, would you like to be a super soldier? It's like, well, what happens? Well, we're going to give you super robot arms. Like, robot arms, that sounds awesome. Okay, great. Come right this way, sir. I mean, that's the thing. It's like everything about it, there is not a selling point to either killing this guy. I mean, like, having this guy die is fine, but like just making this guy a weapon, all it's going to do is cause more senses of betrayal and again, make people lose faith in what Cecil is trying to build. So when you look at it from Cecil's perspective, Cecil needs these insanely powerful superhumans who are all over his planet to think it's a good idea to support his cause. So, I mean, and again, when we get to Adam Eve, who is giving up the team to go live in a treehouse she has
but at the same time, he has to be prepared for the moment that the Viltrumite decides he no longer cares, and no things and no words and no relationships are going to change his mind. What do you do then?
Well, except
that's his job, is to be prepared for that.
Arguably, again, Mozz, and not to give spoilers, that's the only thing that changes the Viltrumite's mind. And we're going to leave it there because I don't want to spoil anything for the last 2 episodes. All right, we've already gone a little bit long on this episode, but Mozz, any final thoughts? Aside from obviously that humans are a vicious animal, always scraping and clawing.
No, again, you're putting words in my mouth because that makes your argument easier. I'm saying that is an equal part of us as much as the cooperation and the good is.
I
and
will
that
give
we
you.
are capable.
I will grant you.
That's
I
my
will
point.
grant you that. I will grant you that that is a part of who we are.
Right, and
I
we
would
need
just
to
say it's
understand that,
not
and
the
don't
biggest part of who
expect
we
us
are.
and to act any differently. And we would do better to understand other people's motivations if we don't ascribe to them an idealism that is far from what they might actually do. So
And
if you
again,
ascribe that to Nolan, you have to also be prepared that he can flip on a dime and turn bad, and so you have to be prepared to be just as bad to fight that.
absolutely. The actual central question that I posed was, what is the value
Hmm.
to a guy like Cecil in not following up with doing what he can?
Because I think he might be able to gain a new weapon in preparation for maybe having to fight
But again, what
Nolan.
is the value of a
Because he just saw him beat up a half Viltrumite.
yes, except we know that he can make more. That's the thing about there's nothing special about Rick as a person
Right.
that makes him a superior weapon. It's the technology that makes him a superior weapon.
Right. And they
They can
already
craft
have
that
one here.
technology anywhere. That's the real point, is that they don't need. It's not like Deathlock in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where, oh, everything's in stasis and you just had that exact right mix to get you to this point where you could be this new super soldier. It's not that. It's literally just plug and play. It's like Iron Man armor. You can stick any schmuck in that and they're gonna fly, and you don't need anything special beyond that. And that is the point, is that from his perspective, he has to look at all of the complex emotions involved with everyone he's dealing with to try and deal with the fact that they have a freaking molecule woman living in the rainforest stopping avalanches because that's how she wants to use her powers. And
I'm
they don't
interested
have
to see what consequences that has, because she's got to be affecting nature on a deep level that might not be good. She might be thinking that she's doing good things, but there might be fallout from the things that she's changing. And that would be an interesting concept for them to explore.
Yeah, but usually environmental disasters like that are like 100-year issues. So like that we didn't get the mudslide doesn't necessarily cause a problem today or
But
tomorrow.
I wonder if it could change the migratory patterns of some animals or something like that.
Yeah, but again, that's the kind of thing that's going to take 100 years to be a problem for humans.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what everyone is concerned about. What is a problem for humans?
Right. And what is the problem right now? Because they've got a ton of problems that are problems right now.
They got a lot of problems, aliens, meteors, goodness knows what else. Anyway, all right, Mozzie. That's enough talking for one night. It's been a joy. And I certainly love debating these concepts about the nature of humanity. And what better genre than superheroes and supervillains than to discuss that? Because that is the whole point of superheroes and supervillains. People people with power to make a choice. How will we use our powers? Does our great power give us great responsibility? Or does our great power give us the responsibility to ourselves to care for those we care about to exclusion of others? That's why when you kill Lois Lane, Superman immediately becomes evil in a lot of universes nowadays. And to be fair, that also happened to Reed Richards when all of his friends died. He turned evil too. So it's not just Superman. In fact, you could probably argue that, Marvel did it first with the Dark Raider. But anyway, it's a whole other concept. Mozz, if people have enjoyed listening to this show, I highly recommend they go down to our show notes, click on the link to Amazon, go to Amazon. Well, at Amazon, buy anything they want. Doesn't cost them a dime more, but it helps out the show because you clicked on our link first. And while they're there, they should check out Pod Life, the book written by the Southgate Media Group community about why we podcast. It is available both in a hard copy that you can have when society falls and a digital copy that will be available to you while society still stands. And if they do any of that stuff, Mozz, and they want to reach out to you and talk to you about it, how can they?
Or they can email me at mozzmanzoor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzoor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And of course, they can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way, the way our mothers and fathers once did, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet Legends of Tomorrow and possibly Loki when I find out when that has their big tweet game from Disney, officially sponsored, at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Ding!
Thank you, Mozz. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, scurvy dogs, for sailing once more with us across the bounding main of the internet. And join us as we once again dive into the tubes of the internet and sail full stream ahead. Arg. Arg.
Right on.